This is Part 3, Episode 12. The sound of rushing wind was heard from the ancient training platform. Promptly, a dozen figures landed steadily. Their eyes, that contained a thick arrogance, were immediately shot towards Ling Dong's group. At the same time, Lin Dong also turned around to look at them. Those 10 people that had appeared were wearing azure-colored clothes. There was a drawing of an extremely large soaring eagle on their clothes. Clearly, they belonged to the same empire. Lin Dong's eyes swept past them before he stared at the front of the pack. At that spot, a man was standing there with his hands behind his back. His eyes were haughty, and the powerful ripple that was faintly emitted from within his body allowed anyone to understand that the arrogance of this person was backed by some skill. I thought who it was. It is actually Lin Dong, who has recently caused an uproar. In order for you to be able to find this place, you must also possess some ability. However, this place has already been occupied by my Sky Eagle Empire. The both of you should go and look for someplace else. That haughty-looking man faintly glanced at Lin Dong's group and actually managed to recognize them. This was likely because Lin Dong had fought with the Devil Cliff Empire. Lin Dong lifted his brows slightly. He had heard a little about the Sky Eagle Empire. It was also a high-ranked empire and possessed a strength that was not inferior to the Devil Cliff Empire. However, it was unexpected that he would actually meet them here. All of you also come from a high-ranked empire. Don't tell me that you do understand the meaning of first come first serve. Lin Dong smilingly said. Although this was not the only training location on this Pill River, he was the first to arrive at this place. Submitting to the humiliation and leaving this place was not an act that someone like him would commit. First come first serve. Indeed, I do not understand the meaning of what it means. All I know is that the person with the largest fist is the right one. The man's eyes revealed a cold smile as he looked at Lin Dong and said, "Do you really think that after you have fought with the Devil Cliff Empire, you now possess the qualifications to fight with my Sky Eagle Empire? Rat, I have given you a little face on the account of the fact that you had a tougher journey reaching this point since you came from a low-rank empire. If you do not acknowledge this favor, I might have to let you taste my Sky Eagle Claw Wang Lai's skill." An irritation and killing intent faintly surged from within the body of Wang Lai. He had heard rumors of Lin Dong, but it did not cause him any fear. His strength was also at peak 1 Yuan Nirvana stage. Although there was a little gap between him and Shakuan, the Sky Eagle Empire won in terms of having more Nirvana stage experts than the Devil Cliff Empire. Out of the 10 of them, 8 of them had advanced to Nirvana stage, and they were the Sky Eagle Empire's main pillar of support. Therefore, in his opinion, there was nothing Lin Dong could do against such a lineup. A chill also flashed across Lin Dong's eyes when he saw this fellow's overbearing manner. Little Flame behind also slowly tightened his grip on his metal rod. The scales all over his body showed a faint trace of being stretched. "Brat, have you made up your mind?" Wang Lai spoke with a cold smile. "You and your dogs can get lost." Lin Dong's eyes were icy cold as he slowly said. Wang Lai's expression had basically turned gloomy in an instant. He stared at Lin Dong and a ferocious smile gradually surfaced on his face. He said, "Rejecting my kind offer. You really don't know your limits. Looks like I must let you understand what your status is in the ancient battlefield. Capture this brat. I want to break every bone in his body one at a time." Wang Lai ordered sinisterly. "Understood." The 10 people behind Wang Lai immediately replied with savage smiles after hearing Wang Lai's sinister voice. Soon after, powerful Yuan power ripples erupted. The 10 figures rushed forward. Meanwhile, their powerful aura directly surrounded and charged at Lin Dong. A fierce aura immediately emerged from Little Flame's eyes when he saw them attacking. Before he was about to attack, however, he was suddenly stopped by Lin Dong. Devouring World. Lin Dong's eyes were icy cold. He placed his hands together and formed a black curtain, which swept open instantly. In an instant, it covered the entire training platform. "Little Martin, can you find the hidden formation on this training platform and activate it?" Lin Dong asked in his heart when he activated his Devouring World. "I?" Little Martin replied before transforming into a red glow and rushed out. "Little Flame, do it. Beat them to death." Lin Dong once again turned towards the Devouring World. At this moment, the people from the Sky Eagle Empire, who were trapped within it, were attacked randomly from every direction. Lin Dong immediately parted the corner of his mouth and revealed his dense white teeth. Yes. Little Flame nodded heavily. An ominous glow was revealed in his eyes. He held the metal rod and darted out. Just as Little Flame is about to dash into the devouring world, Lin Dong's mind moved before a thin light film of devouring force was formed on the surface of Little Flame's body. By doing so, Little Flame's energy would not be drained even in the devouring world. Lin Dong shook his sleeves as he looked at Little Flame grabbing the metal rod and charging into the devouring world while steaming with killing intent. With Lin Dong's current strength, the devouring world which he activated could trap a Nirvana stage expert. However, he was barely able to trap a 1 yuan Nirvana stage expert like Wang Lai. Nevertheless, with Little Flame personally entertaining the latter, it was likely that he would not be able to divert his attention to destroy his devouring world. He and his blood-soul puppet would naturally properly entertain the remaining people. Within the devouring world, Wang Lai was also shocked by this sudden strange black scene that had emerged. However, this fellow was still a 1 yuan Nirvana stage expert. Immediately, he cried out loud, "There is no need to panic. We will attack together. Regardless of what this thing is, let's tear it apart." Wang Lai's voice had just sounded out when a black-colored metal rod, that carried a frightening strength, appeared from within the darkness in front of him. It violently struck his body in a swift lightning-like manner. A metallic sound rang out. In the next instant, Wang Lai's body was forced back in a miserable manner while the blood in his body raged. In his shock, he hurriedly circulated some yuan power to protect his body. His eyes swept in all directions. All that entered his eyes, however, was darkness. Even his senses have been disabled in this place. Bang! The only thing that Wang Lai could hear within this darkness was the muffled sound of fist meeting flesh from all directions. After that, was the miserable cries of his subordinates. "Asshole, what exactly is this thing? Lin Dong, you cowardly mouse. If you have the guts, reveal yourself and fight with me." An incomparable stifled injustice covered Wang Lai's heart. He was not afraid of being beaten. However, he was afraid of this kind of situation, where he was already seriously injured without even being able to see the other party. "What can you do even if I reveal myself?" Lin Dong's cold laughter suddenly sounded beside Wang Lai's ears after the latter's voice sounded. The latter threw a punch forward as a reflex action, but he only struck the air. Bang! Wang Lai's fist missed, but a wind in front of him suddenly arrived. Immediately, it violently swung on his face in a ruthless manner. Immediately, his face had become distorted and blood flowed from his nose. Before Wang Lai could hurriedly retreat, after taking a punch on his face, a metal rod was once again extended from the darkness. It ruthlessly smashed his arm and the piercing sound of bone cracking was emitted. "Withdraw, withdraw from this place." The continuous attacks within the darkness finally forced Wang Lai until the point where his body began to crumble. After which, he could only ignore the incoming force wind and use his body to forcefully withstand the blows. Finally, he identified a direction and charged out with all his might. This devouring world that Lin Dong had opened was not too big. Hence, after Wang Lai's group charged around wildly, the darkness finally disappeared. Immediately, a glaring light appeared in their eyes. "You actually dare to learn from others and act so arrogantly with this little ability. You ignorant fool." Lin Dong's faint mocking voice was transmitted into the ears of Wang Lai's group the instant they charged out of the devouring world, with injuries all over their bodies. Wang Lai was so furious that he ended up vomiting a mouthful of blood. He immediately turned his head with ferocious eyes and looked at the training platform. At this moment, Lin Dong was smiling while he stared at him. "Set up the formation. I want this little bastard to die here today." Wang Lai's nearly unrestrained roar suddenly sounded in the face of Lin Dong's smiling face. He really could not accept this stifling scene. After all, they did not even manage to touch Lin Dong's, yet they ended up being beaten until such a miserable state. If news of this incident spread, they would really lose all the face of their Sky Eagle Empire. The ashen-faced experts from the Sky Eagle Empire hurriedly spread apart upon hearing Wang Lai's roar. However, just as they were about to set up a formation and attack Lin Dong, they saw that the training platform had suddenly trembled. After which, numerous bright red light curtain rose. In an instant, they formed a dense light barrier that completely covered the training platform. The experts from the Sky Eagle Empire watched this scene with stunned expressions. They were able to sense an extremely powerful ripple from the bright red light curtain. Big Brother Wang Lai, they seemed to have activated the training platform's hidden formation, an expert from the Sky Eagle Empire muttered. They were also aware of some information related to the Pill River. Naturally, they understood just how powerful the defense formation in this place was. Guard this place. I don't believe that they won't come out. Additionally, send a message and call the allies of the Sky Eagle Empire and the Devil Cliff Empire over. I want to wait until this brat comes out and give him a big gift. Wang Lai's face was distorted. His roaring voice violently reverberated across this Pill River. A bright red light barrier rose on the training platform, enveloping it entirely. Meanwhile, powerful ripples repeatedly spread from within the light barrier, giving it an extremely stable feeling. This Pill River was a place the ancient sects left for their disciples to use. Hence, the defensive structures in this place was quite powerful. If one did not open it, even if Wang Lai and the others went crazy, it would not be the slightest bit affected. Lin Dong's gaze swept over those bright red light barrier. His eyes also revealed a satisfied expression. Some envy also appeared in his heart when he sensed the great strength of this formation. Those disciples from the ancient sect were truly fortunate. Not only did they have an envious training ground like the Pill River, but they also possessed such a powerful protection. Although this formation is a little incomplete, it can still be barely used. Little Martin also flashed and appeared at this moment. After which, it patted its claws and said. Lin Dong nodded. Next, he directly sat in the middle of the training platform. Following the activation of the light barrier, he could clearly sense the viscous nirvana chi surging out from within the Pill River had become a lot more sparse. It even reached a point where a person could absorb it. This was likely as a result of the formation. Little Flame also withdrew his metal rod and sat down beside Lin Dong. His gaze was somewhat fiery hot as he glanced in every direction. The nirvana chi that permeated this place appeared to be endless. Currently, he was at half-step to nirvana stage. It was a period where he needed large amount of nirvana chi. Hence, this place was clearly a rare treasure ground to him. If he was to train in this place, he would likely be able to greatly reduce the time he needed to reach the second nirvana tribulation. These fellows seems unwilling to leave things as it is. Little Martin looked at the light barrier. Although it was unable to see the situation outside at the moment, it was still able to imagine just how noisy things was outside. There is no need to bother about them. Lin Dong smiled faintly. Currently, he did not wish to delay his precious time because of these fellows. He did not care about what kind of activity they wanted to do outside. Once he successfully broke through to the nirvana stage and endured a nirvana tribulation, the so-called Wang Lai and the others would just be like ants to him. This was Lin Dong's confidence. When he was just half-step to nirvana stage, he was already able to exchange blows with experts who had endured a nirvana tribulation. If he was to also advance to that level, an ordinary 1 yuan nirvana stage expert would not even be worthy of his attention. At that time, he would even be able to face that Yang Sen of unknown origin, whom he had met earlier on. Only by reaching that step would he truly possess the qualification to fight for the various treasures within the ancient secret trove. Little Martin, I will leave the rest to you. Lin Dong smiled towards Little Martin. Only after seeing that the latter had nodded his head, did Lin Dong inhale a deep breath of air. After which, he slowly shut his eyes. An excitement surged in his heart. He was finally about to reach this step. Lin Dong gradually suppressed the excitement in his heart. A thought flashed past and a circular black hole swiftly spread out from behind his head. Currently, this training platform was covered by a formation. Additionally, both Little Martin and Little Flame were individuals closest to him and knew a lot of Lin Dong's secrets. Hence, there was little need for Lin Dong to hide anything. He directly pushed his devouring ancestral symbol to its maximum. Bang bang. As that black hole slowly extended, waves after waves of devouring force erupted like a vast flood. Little Flame and Little Martin were quite surprised when they saw the dense nirvana strength that permeated over this training platform, transforming into waves of bright red light pillar that pouring unceasingly into the black hole behind Lin Dong's head. Hua hua hua. The clothes on Lin Dong's body moved in the absence of wind, emitting a fluttering sound while these majestic nirvana chi poured in. One could vaguely see numerous slight, bright, red glow swiftly wiggling under his skin. Lin Dong's strength was already at the peak of the half foot into the nirvana stage. Hence, he had already possessed the qualification to charge into the nirvana stage. However, he had been suppressing it. This was because he understood that attacking the nirvana stage was similar to building the foundation of a house. The more solid the foundation, the more advantageous it would be for him in the future. He would naturally not dare to randomly perform such an important step. At this moment, he possessed an unlimited amount of nirvana chi in this place. Therefore, he was able to fearlessly establish an incomparable firm foundation in this place. A great amount of nirvana chi wildly poured into Lin Dong's body. A heat also quietly spread out from within his body. Even the air outside of his body had become a little boiling hot. Upon sensing the heat that was gradually spreading from his body, Lin Dong knew that the nirvana chi within had gradually reached the limit which he could support. However, this situation did not cause Lin Dong to panic. A thought passed through his mind and the surface of his body became to emit threads of gold-colored light. Moments later, his entire body was covered within the golden light. Lesser Nirvana Golden Body. The current Lesser Nirvana Golden Body had clearly already been practiced by Lin Dong until he reached full mastery. If one was to describe it, it would likely not be inferior to a genuine Nirvana Golden Body. In fact, it was probably difficult to find someone within the same stage who was even stronger than Lin Dong. Since he possessed an object that far exceeded that of any ordinary half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner, the danger of breaking into the Nirvana stage was clearly reduced to the minimum for Lin Dong. Everything appeared to be as a matter of course, and was extremely smooth. Little Flame in the outside world had also started training. There was also numerous black glow being emitted from within his body. The surface of this black glow faintly formed a black-colored enormous tiger. The enormous tiger roared towards the sky and an enormous suction force was erupted. The force repeatedly sucked the powerful Nirvana strength from around. Although Little Flame's absorption speed could not be compared with Lin Dong, who possessed the devouring ancestral symbol, it similarly far exceeded the expert of the same stage. No matter how one put it, the current Little Flame possessed the bloodline of the heavenly devil tiger. Furthermore, thanks to his mutated body, he was exceptionally powerful. As such, he was also able to withstand such a wild absorption rate. Standing beside him, Little Martin was also a little envious as he looked at Lin Dong and Little Flame, who were absorbing the Nirvana strength in this wanton manner. It was in its spiritual form. Therefore, even if it trained, the effects would be extremely limited. As such, if it wanted to make significant progress, it would need to have a body. This time around, I must obtain that samsara pill. Little Martin clenched its teeth. The feeling of watching Lin Dong's and Little Flame's strength gradually surpassing it was not a good one. After all, it was a genius in the celestial demon Martin race, and was quite a renowned existence even in the demon city. However, it had currently fallen into this state. Given its pride, how would it be able to endure it? Once I recover my strength, I must search for those bastards who had launched a sneak attack on me back then. Damn it, do you really think that Grandpa Martin doesn't know who you are, just because you have hid your aura and face? A shocking fierceness and traces of blood suddenly climbed within Little Martin's eyes as it recalled how it died back then. Since you dare attack this Grandfather Martin, I will definitely repay you with a price that is 1,000 times greater. The scene back then had nearly caused Little Martin to completely perish. If it were not for the fact that it decisively self-destructed at the last moment, and hid his damaged demon spirit into the stone talisman, it was likely that it would no longer exist in this world. All of these years, if it had not chanced upon Lin Dong, it was likely that it would still be hiding within the stone talisman at this moment. Moreover, his demon spirit would completely scatter with the passage of time. All of these formed a genuine blood feud. Based on its character, it would naturally seek to get even. Little Martin exhaled a couple of ragged breaths from its mouth. Only then did it gradually hid the surging fierceness and killing intent in his heart. After which, he glanced at Lin Dong, whose strength was climbing before a slight joy appeared in his eyes. At this rate, Lin Dong would be able to break through until the Nirvana stage not long in the future, and attempt the Nirvana tribulation. Little fellow, it is entirely up to you whether Grandpa Martin can recover my physical body. Although you might have great potential, you are currently demand respect from Grandfather Martin. Once you truly surpass me, it is likely not a problem if you really want to be the big brother. Little Martin stared at Lin Dong. Its eyes were a little complicated as it parted its mouth and laughed. Time flew past while Lin Dong was training. 2 days had passed within the blink of an eye. However, there was still no activity on the training platform. Clearly Lin Dong and Little Flame had entered into a deep training state. The Pill River outside of the training state was extremely noisy, while this training platform was serene. This was an attractive part of the ancient treasure trove. Moreover, due to the area being too big, it was difficult for him to avoid attracting attention. Hence, after more and more experts hurried over to this place during these 2 days, all of their faces were filled with shock upon seeing that vast Pill River. Soon after, however, their surprise turned into regret. This was because they discovered that the nirvana strength within the Pill River was too viscous. An ordinary person would not dare to directly absorb it. Moreover, the Pill River had countless number of pill spirit corpses, which were extremely troublesome. Once they walked nearby the river, they would immediately be attacked. This discovery made one feel like vomiting blood. They were just like hungry individuals who had been starving for more than 10 days before discovering a pile of delicious food. Just as they were just about to pounce on it, they were told that the food had a lethal poison, causing them to feel depressed at being able to see but not eat. However, a person's intelligence ultimately reigned supreme. After experiencing a period of regret, someone discovered the hidden training platform within the Pill River. It seemed that one would be able to absorb a great amount of scattered nirvana strength if one trained there. An uproar was undoubtedly stirred upon this discovery. Soon after, the area above the Pill River became incomparably lively. Every training platform would spark an extremely intense and cruel battle for it. While countless number of snatching miserable battles erupted over the Pill River, the place outside of the training platform, where Lin Dong was located, had already unknowingly been surrounded by a large group of people. At the middle of these people was surprisingly Wang Lai, who was revealing a deep and solemn expression. Clearly, it was just as little Martin has described. This fellow would not simply let things go. From time to time, human figures swept past the mighty and vast Pill River, but quickly after, countless bright red human figures would charge out from within the river, causing numerous chaotic battles to continuously erupt in quick succession at various places along the river. Evidently, the opening of the ancient treasure trove this time around had completely broken the countless years of peaceful silence within this dimension, and caused it to become increasingly chaotic. At this moment, a large group of humans had gathered at a certain edge of the Pill River. Their gazes contained some cold smile as they stared at the Pill River in front of them. That place was being covered by an extremely dense bright red circular light barrier. Meanwhile, the circular light was emitting a powerful energy ripple. These human figures wore different clothes. The Empire's badge on their chest were also completely different. Clearly, they originated from different empires. Wang Lai, that brat called Lin Dong, is really hiding inside this thing. A skinny man amongst the crowd swept over the training platform with sinister eyes, before turning his head to the person by his side and asked. Yes, I personally saw him enter. Brother Chen Ku, doesn't your corpse empire like spiritual puppets? That brat just happens to be in possession of a grade 1 spiritual puppet. If you are able to obtain it, it would definitely be of a great help. Wang Lai smilingly said. A grade 1 spiritual puppet, huh? A greedy expression involuntarily flashed across the face of the man called Chen Ku upon hearing this. Immediately he smiled darkly and said, I heard that brat is actually also a heaven symbol master. I really wish to challenge him and see if he is as strong as rumored. Ha ha, looks like Brother Chen Ku really thinks highly of Lin Dong. You have endured a wind lightning tribulation, and you are a genuine one seal heaven symbol master. I heard that brat has only advanced to heaven symbol master for a short while. How can he be compared to you? A foolish-looking large man was standing on the other side of Wang Lai. At this moment, his face was wearing a foolish smile that caused him to look stupid. However, anyone who knew him understood that this person was vicious. Despite his appearance, there were already countless number of people who had died at his hands. He, Zheng Heizhu, don't try this in front of me. It is rumored that this brat had even wounded Shikuan from the Devil Cliff Empire. Furthermore, he is in possession of countless number of trump cards. I would not foolishly go and find trouble with him. That Chen Ku parted his mouth and laughed. The two of you need not argue. That brat does indeed has some ability, but the three of us are experts, who have stepped into one Yuan Nirvana stage. Moreover, we have so many Nirvana experts under us. If we were to join forces, regardless of what trump card that brat possess, he will definitely fail to escape alive. After we kill him, not only will the spiritual puppet belong to us, but we will also be able to occupy this training platform. If we train here, we will not have to worry about having insufficient nirvana pills, and we might even be able to try attacking the second nirvana tribulation in this place. Wang Lai waved his hand and laughed. This training platform is indeed not bad. Although Chen Ku and Jing Heizhu were non-committal about the matter of attacking the second nirvana tribulation, which Wang Lai had mentioned, their gazes lit up when they looked at the training platform that was covered by the bright red circular barrier. Currently, the surroundings of the Pill River were filled with crazy battles because of the training platform. If they were to join forces, it was likely that they would be able to occupy this place. Just thinking of the benefits at that time excited them. Moreover, I have also sent people to invite the Devil Cliff Empire. Currently, that Shikuan is attacking the second nirvana tribulation. With his ability, he has a 70% chance of successfully enduring it. At that time, he would be a genuine 2-yuan nirvana stage expert. Given his grudge with Lin Dong, he would definitely be the first to attack Lin Dong. Hence, this brat will definitely have not survived this time around. Oh? Shikuan is attacking the second nirvana tribulation. A shock expression appeared in the eyes of Chen Ku and Jing Heizhu when they heard this. They were people who had personally experienced the tribulation, and naturally clearly understood that each tribulation was more frightening than before. With their current ability, they would very likely be directly incinerated to death if they tried to attack the second nirvana tribulation. Hence, their hearts were all filled with envy when they heard that Shikuan had the confidence to endure the second nirvana tribulations. That Lin Dong had caused the reputation of the Devil Cliff Empire to greatly fall. Shikuan has already hated him to the core. It must be said that this fellow is overly arrogant. He only has a little ability, yet he goes around and create enemies. This time around, I will see how he can hide. Wang Lai's eyes were vicious as he stared at the training platform that was covered by a bright red light circle. The savage smile on the corner of his mouth was extremely terrifying. It seems like he had already saw the relieving scene of Lin Dong trembled violently under his feet in the not-too-distant future. Rat, I dare you to hide in the training platform for the rest of your life like a tortoise. While the outside of the Pill River had descended into a chaotic big battle, the training platform that Lin Dong was on was just like a sacred land, which was quiet and peaceful. There was not the slightest chaos that originated from the violence outside. Lin Dong quietly sat at the middle of the training platform. The nirvana chi lingered all around his body and actually emitted a faint water flow-like sound. From this, it was possible to tell just what kind of frightening degree the nirvana chi in this place had reached. The pores all over Lin Dong's body suddenly emitted a bright gold light, while he was covered by the dense bright red nirvana chi. Under the shine of the bright gold light, it seemed that the flesh, bones and even internal organs all over his body seemed to have been constructed from gold, as they emitted a strong indestructible feeling. Nirvana golden body. This was the true indicator of a nirvana expert. It used the nirvana chi to refine one's physical body, refining each and every single part of it, both on the inside and outside until its limit. Following which, it would strengthen the physical body until quite a powerful stage. Once the nirvana golden body was formed, not only would one's defense greatly soar, but one's strength, speed etc. would also soar. This was a genuine transformation. The most important reason why nirvana stage experts were being able to look down on the creation stage experts was not because their yuan power was even more powerful, but because they possessed the powerful nirvana golden body. Under the protection of the nirvana golden body, they could basically ignore all the attacks by someone at the creation stage. Of course, this was not absolute. After all, in this world, there would also be people like Lin Dong who could not be measured by common sense. However, looking from a majority point of view, the creation stage, or even someone at half-step to nirvana stage, would not have the slightest chance of victory when facing a nirvana stage expert who possessed a genuine nirvana golden body. Has he successfully advanced into the nirvana stage? Little Martin looked at Lin Dong, whose entire body was emitting a bright golden glow. Even the blood flowing in the latter's body was also mixed with golden color, before joy flashed across Little Martin's eyes. If an ordinary person attacked the nirvana stage, they would have a chances of failure. However, this clearly did not apply to Lin Dong. Although the nirvana chi which he absorbed within these 2 days would at least be equivalent to more than 2 million nirvana pills, Lin Dong was able to rely on his strong physical body to forcefully endure this enormous nirvana chi, which was sufficient to cause many people to self-destruct. This advancement appeared to be just like a matter of course, and everything was extremely smooth. In fact, he did not even meet the slightest obstruction along the way. This was the unleashing of firm and solid foundation. With Lin Dong's strength, he had long possessed the qualifications to attack the Nirvana stage. However, he chose to suppress it. Currently, the potential from the former suppression has been completely unleashed, eliminating the powerful obstruction of the Nirvana tribulation. A wave of unusually powerful aura gradually spread out from Lin Dong's body. Finally, it drifted within the bright red circular glow. This aura was definitely many times stronger than before. Even Lin Dong himself was uncertain of how great an amount of Nirvana chi he had absorbed during the advancement to the Nirvana stage. In any case, he had directly activated the devouring ancestral symbol to its greatest capacity, and wildly swallowed the endless supply of Nirvana chi from around him. At the end, he only gradually stopped, after his physical body felt difficult to continue enduring despite its strength. According to Lin Dong's rough estimate, the Nirvana chi, which he had absorbed, should have exceeded a frightening 2 million Nirvana pills. If this news was to spread, it would definitely spark quite a great uproar. Everyone knew that the more Nirvana chi one absorbed when one charged to the Nirvana stage, the better it was. However, there was similarly a limit. This limit was the extent to which your physical body could endure. Even the strong like Shakuan from the Devil Cliff Empire could only endure around 800,000 Nirvana pills worth of Nirvana chi. However, the amount which Lin Dong could currently endure was a couple of times more than Shakuan. A cluster of air that faintly contained a gold-colored was exhaled from Lin Dong's nose. His tightly shut eyes were also suddenly opened at this moment. A golden glow was revealed in his eyes. Looking from a distance, it looked like a pair of furious golden eyes that revealed a great sternness. Nirvana stage. Lin Dong's fist slowly tightened. A frightening strength rippled within his body. He could sense that by just relying on his current strength, it was already sufficient to fight with Shakuan. The millions of Nirvana pills worth of Nirvana chi was not a trifle matter. However, this was not the level which he had hoped for. He had previously said that once he had advanced to the Nirvana stage, he would attack the feared Nirvana tribulation. Little Martin clearly seemed to have understood something when it saw the wild and heated expression that was suddenly revealed on Lin Dong's face. Its body immediately withdrew quickly. Nirvana tribulation. Let me see just how frightening you are. Lin Dong's eyes were wild and hot. A low roar sounded as a thought passed through his mind. Bright golden glow abruptly erupted from within his body. After which, a frightening ripple swiftly spread out from within Lin Dong's body. Under this frightening ripple, Lin Dong's body suddenly trembled despite its strength. A little white smoke rose from his skin. Little Martin retreated to a far distance. It clicked its mouth as it looked at the bright redness that appeared on Lin Dong's skin. It knew that the interior of the latter's body was already currently in complete chaos. Bang bang. While Little Martin was withdrawing and preparing to watch how Lin Dong would endure this Nirvana tribulation, its expression suddenly changed. It abruptly raised its head. At this moment, dark clouds had suddenly gathered in the sky above this training platform. This is Heaven Symbol Master's Wind Lightning Tribulation. Little Martin's eyes suddenly shrunk as it looked at the dark clouds and lightning being slowly gathered. Clearly, it did not expect that the Wind Lightning Tribulation of the Heaven Symbol Master had actually arrived concurrently with the Nirvana Tribulation. This video will end here.